Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So guys, this one, again, wasn't necessarily planned. I've been wanting to do this video for the past week, and just because of other stuff that would come up, didn't get the chance to do it. So before this gets too far in the rears, I want to do it. Let's have some fun. This is fucking hilarious to watch. Now, Michael Wolff, and let me check my sound first. It looks like it's okay, but sometimes it drops between shows. And yes, good. And let me make sure the other thing is good. Good. Also, guys, first, before I start, I want to thank all the patrons. I want to thank all the people who donate Super Cash. You guys are completely appreciated. Thank you very much. And by the way, whether it's you're donating Super Cash or Patron, even if you're liking or sharing the videos, it is appreciated very much. If you didn't like the video and you still sit there and watch for whatever reason, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Michael Wolff. So I've covered parts of Michael Wolff's book. So Michael Wolff is the author who wrote Fire and Fury. Now this was this kind of expose on Trump and the people around Trump. Ultimately getting across this idea that Trump is ferociously incompetent. And even the people who are around him understands that he is not a bright man. Now, that being said, there were problems with Michael Wolff's book. Now, if you were a Democrat, if you were somebody who disliked Trump, you could read that book and you would get an impression of Donald Trump. You'd be like, okay, this man is, oh my God, however bad I thought it was, this guy's worse. That being said, though, the problem with that is there were errors in the book. Like, there were things in the book that weren't necessarily factually true. There are dates and places and people who have said, yeah, that wasn't me. Now, I could look at this book and I could say, the cartoon comic book character that I've been watching for the past year and a half or so matches up. Meaning the stuff in the book, the overall picture of the book, whether one detail is off or not, the overall picture of the person in the book, I can agree with. Meaning if I'm stepping back and I'm looking at the totality of it, I can agree with. The problem is, you've fucked up facts and details, and you've allowed people to be able to pick the book apart. Meaning, can I really say that the comic book character in front of me, really lines up with this person in the book if there are parts of the book that are wrong? If there are parts that are wrong. This book comes across as more of a hit piece than actual some kind of journalistic thing. Also, the way he came about it is kind of slimy in the first place. This thing of ingratiating himself to the Trump campaign by writing articles that are favorable and nice to Trump and, makes it look like this guy's on their side. Purely doing it to put a knife in him the moment that Trump gives him access. And that's exactly what he did. I dislike this for several reasons. It comes across as sleazy, even though he got a story. But you getting a story doesn't make it any less sleazy. There were people in WikiLeaks who did the same thing to Sanders. Did the exact same thing. Where they would say, hey, I'm going to write favorable stories about Bernie Sanders. And then when Sanders is on his, when he loses, because they assumed that Sanders was going to lose, I'll come out and say, hey, I was on board with Bernie, but now we need to support Hillary Clinton. And the journalist who calls himself journalist, to put it in quotes, saying that I would have credibility with the Bernie group, because I was on board in the beginning. And now saying we need to move to Hillary Clinton will have more legitimacy. It's saying that these people should vote for Hillary Clinton. So I don't like the sleaziness in this. Either you support a particular point of view or you don't support a particular point of view. The idea that you're being sleazy to ingrate yourself to a candidacy only to put a knife in the back of the guy later on is gross. Call it what it is. It's gross. You made your profit off the book. God bless. You're in a capitalistic system. Being slimy and gross are not necessarily frowned upon. You made your cash. Good job. You've created a hit piece for Democrats. Good job. And look, at the very least, there have been some amazing fucking things that came out of that book, particularly from people like Steve Bannon, who was close to Donald Trump. But let's be honest, not everything in the book was honest or straightforward. Michael Wolff, the guy who wrote this hit job book, ran into a buzzsaw on Morning Joe. Now, he didn't run into a buzzsaw because some of the other stuff in the book that was wrong. He's ran into a buzzsaw in other places. I'm going to show that. But this is very specific because of something else that he said. But first, to just bolster the point that Michael Wolff has things in his book that are wrong and that aren't necessarily right. Again, doesn't necessarily take down the overall picture of the book, but a view of Donald Trump, and there are things in the book that are perfectly true. And you could say that a detail here or there doesn't necessarily smear the entire book. That would be fair. But problems are there. He runs into a buzzsaw in the View with Meghan McCain. Let's take a look at that first before I show the other thing, the other issue that we've run into.
Trump says the book is full of lies, misrepresentation.
Let's remember,
let me finish, please.
Who my credibility is being questioned by.
New York Times, Maggie Haberman, New York Times, John Martin, David Brooks, CNN's Alison Camerata, Tony Blair, Tom Barak, Kate Walsh, Anna Wintour, all denying quotes. Washington Post reporter Mark Berman was in the Four Seasons, the same time as Ivanka Trump. You admitted to mixing up Mark with Mike Berman. Trump needed the Constitution explained to him. His advisor, Stan Nunberg, has fabricated stories in the past. This goes on and on. The age of the White House communications director. There are a lot of factual errors in here. So I want to know from you is, what do you say to the people?
I regret mixing up Mike Berman and Mark Berman. The Berman brothers have my apologies.
You know, I think this hits us. I read your book, and I think this hits a special place for me because my family has been the subject of a book like this, Game Change. And Game Change was written, ironically, people like Anna were asked, and thank you for not giving interviews to those guys. A lot of disgruntled staffers give what traditionally in situations like this, it's the disgruntled staffers who aren't loyal to their principal that give interviews like this. So I'm curious, when you talk about staff, you didn't talk to his cabinet. Did you ever interview Jared and Ivanka? And how can I trust some of these quotes when, again, Tony Blair, Tom Barak, Kate Walsh, Anna Wintour, all these people are denying these quotes and stories attributed to them?
I think you have to look at also the other people who are not denying, and actually the great number of people. You know, and there were, I mean, there was initially, there was people questioned. Begins with a dinner with Roger Ailes and Steve Bannon. Was that off
the record?
And people were, that's a good question, but people questioned this, and they said, how could I know this? And there is no I in this book. I don't appear in this book for a very specific reason, because it's not about me. It is about other people's impressions of Donald Trump. So anyway, this dinner was questioned, and then it came out because somebody who was at the dinner pointed out, oh, this dinner was actually at my house, that's how I know exactly what happened there. So when you write a book like this, and this is a particular kind of book. I mean, the New York Times is going into some amount of apoplexy about this because, I mean, probably because I kind of scooped them. You know, we're all journalists.
To be fair, to be very fair, my issues with Trump have been made pretty clear, even from the beginning. Look, if we're having conversations about policy, we'll rip him to shreds any day of the week and twice on Sundays. I dislike his tone. I dislike what he does in that office. I dislike what he represents, all that stuff. So in many respects, this book would be for people like me, who will look at this book and say, ha ha, look at this asshole. And yes, I knew he was this incompetent, and et cetera, et cetera. The problem is, if what you're saying, meaning if you're writing a book like this, and you're calling yourself a journalist, and you're talking about the New York Times scooped you, or you scooped the New York Times, all of this is in the context of you writing stuff that's not true. Or at the very least, that you're fucking up facts and details. Like, this is the argument that she's making to you. Like, how much of this, A, was true? How much of this, beyond not being true, meaning all of these people, the list of names that she read that said, this isn't true, this wasn't me, this is not what took place, all of this stuff. And then following up with the second thing of, also, was this off the record? Did you tell these people that this was off the record while you were getting this information? He's like, that's a good question. Yeah, don't tell me it's a good question, just answer the fucking question. I'm being harsh on this a little bit, only because if I'm reading a book like this, and if people are reading a book like this, they want the idea or want the things that you're saying in the book to be true. And you're letting right-wingers, Trump supporters, being able to kind of rip to shreds your book because of things that you left in a book that wasn't true. When, if all honesty, if you were being honest, the things that aren't true in this book may not in any way change the contours of this book. Meaning, Yes, you may have all of these facts and figures. You may have people and everything else. If you just took the goddamn time to make sure it was true, you'd have had a much stronger case. You'd have been a much stronger hatchet man, as opposed to looking like, I gotta be honest, a hatchet man. You can be a hatchet man and still give a factually true book. In this case, we have all these people saying, no, this isn't true. No, this didn't take place. No, I wasn't the person who was talking to. It makes you look a little bad. And then to say you were being a journalist makes you look a little bad. Let's not use the J word. Let's not use the J word in the context of this book. Let's keep going. And again, I make the case, yes, I'm being somewhat hard on him. It doesn't necessarily change the contours of the book. Like, you may have, this guy wasn't the guy I talked to. That guy wasn't really the person who was in that particular place at that particular point in time. But when you take the totality of the book itself, you still may come to an impression based on the people who actually were telling the truth. So Steve Bannon, that gives you a particular impression. People who were around Donald Trump, places where he himself was sitting in and listening to conversations because, being sleazy, they thought he was on their side. So yeah, the contours of the book may be true, but it's like, God damn it, why don't you take the time to make sure that the book is true, even if you wanted to do a hit job, to make sure that the book was true. And Mika McCain makes a really good point. Some of these people are disgruntled campaign workers. But again, just because they're disgruntled campaign workers doesn't necessarily mean that what they're saying is wrong. You got to be honest. A person who I look at, the stuff that he says, gives me the impression that the stuff in the book is true. It gives me the impression that it's true. So yes, there may be elements of it that's false. There may be things, he's missing dates, times, and all this other stuff. And yeah, he should have taken the time to make sure that this shit was actually true before putting it in a goddamn book. And no, if you write a book like this, you should not call yourself a journalist. At best, something like the Inquirer or something like that. You've written a hit job. Congratulations. You could have written it in a way where it was true. You still could have had somewhat of a hit job. You didn't take the time to do that. So now you're dealing with Mika McCain saying bad things to you. Well, you've earned it. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Because I want him to answer the question of whether or not this stuff was off the record. Let's keep going.
And this is what we do. But I want to say that there is room. There's room. Daily reporters do a specific job, and book writers do a specific job. My goal was not to give the explosive things that happen every day in this administration, and therefore make you forget what happens the day before, but to give this longer view, to put some context, to put everyone in the seat that I sat on in the West Wing, to see this administration from that point of view, to see the forest for the trees.
I'm not saying that they aren't idiots for honestly letting you around and giving you that kind of access, because quite frankly, had you invited me to your house at any point before this book, I would have said, hell no, of course not.
Here's the thing. Whether she realized it or not, she just gave legitimacy to the book. So, and this is kind of my point. There may be things, specific things, that you can say, wait a minute, this guy is denying this specific thing. That guy is denying that specific thing. You picked the wrong brother. It wasn't that brother, it was the other brother. You could nail down very specifics in regards to the details that he might have missed. But when you're talking about the overall book, she herself, even in this moment, has to admit he was there. He was interacting with these people. He was interacting with Trump and interacting with people who were around Trump. So the information and the picture that he got was probably the impression that he got. He may have gotten specific details wrong, but you can't deny that he was there. He was in the middle of all this. So the overall impression is kind of the forest for the trees. I don't think his argument is invalid. I just feel like if you're going to do it, get it right. That's all. If you're going to do it. If you're going to write a book like this, you should make sure that your details are right. Let's let her finish.
I don't go to journalist's house and start dishing about anything private in the political circles I'm in. I'm just confused. Were you friends with Steve Bannon and Roger Ailes beforehand, and you were like, come to my house for an off-the-record dinner, and then you reported on it? Or was it on the record?
Yes, no, fair question, and I'll tell you what happened. This was actually an off-the-record dinner. But two things happened.
That's why people hate journalists, by the way. It's why I don't believe in the concept of off-the-record, this right here.
Okay, so... yes, I would always be careful about that. But at any rate, two things happened on that dinner. Roger Ailes died, And
Not at the dinner. Because you said two things happened at that dinner. He didn't die at the dinner. Just saying.
the food
Or the company.
The food was very good. I cooked the food. It was good. With Roger Ailes' death, it seemed to me that was that in off the record died with the death of the source. That's number one. Still, Steve Bannon understood it was off the record, but not long after Roger died, Steve said to me, "You're going to put that on the record, aren't you? You're going to use that. That was history." I took
Steve Bannon has not. But Steve Bannon has not denied one thing in the book. Am I right?
Well, he did try to clarify the part about where he said that
it's just crazy. I mean, it's
that Baby Dawn was going to crack on national TV like an egg. Yeah. He said he wasn't talking about Baby Donnie. He was talking about Manafort.
Manafort.
Was he talking about? Who was he talking about?
No, he said he was going to crack like an egg. He said he did not.
This is going beyond where I want to go with this. But you see my point. Essentially, the guy had certain things wrong. She nailed him on the things that he had wrong. He owned up to the fact that, yes, I don't appear in this book. I'm just relaying stories that these other people are saying. And even as a disclaimer in the book itself, he kind of makes this point that not everything in this book is true. Not everything in this book is true. Now, ran into a buzzsaw with Meghan McCain. You can understand why Meghan McCain would be upset. Her dad is John McCain. And to be fair, though, I've read the book Game Change. John McCain looked really good in that book. He looks a hell of a lot better in that book than he looks in person. So I understand she has issues with that. But there was other stuff. When George Bush ran the thing talking about he had a black kid. And oh man, it was fuckfest. This was about Wolf. This is about Wolf, though. Michael Wolf. So let's take a look at what took place that caused the issue. Now, I just wanted to establish that there was elements of this book that wasn't true. That's what I wanted to establish. Whether the entirety of the book may give you the impression of Donald Trump that's more true than not, there were elements of the book that's not true. He is hawking a book. And like other people hawking a book, there's a financial interest in blowing up stories, making this thing more than what it is, and the more explosive, the better. So Donna Brazile, even though she's a soldier to the end, and hawking her book would say, okay, they rigged it. We rigged it. But when I say rigged, I didn't mean rigged. She had to clean shit up afterwards. But yeah, she was going to put it in this book. It's explosive. They can sell a book on an explosive claim. Wolf is no different, particularly when you already know right now that there are elements of the book that are not true. So this is what took place on that hack Bill Maher show.
Talking about it all. I want you to tell me something that the other people have not noticed in this book. Is there something that you think, boy, why don't they ask me about this that I put in there that they're not talking about?
There is, but I can't tell you what it is. So
well,
there is
fuck you, Mike. Teasing us like that.
There is something in the book that I was absolutely sure of, but it was so incendiary that I just didn't have the ultimate proof.
God, considering what he's done, what is it, a woman thing?
Well, I didn't have the blue dress.
No, is it about a woman?
It is.
Oh, it is.
It is.
Oh, it's somebody he's fucking now.
Just so we're clear, you heard what he said. I didn't have the blue dress. The blue dress he's talking about is Monica Lewinsky, with Bill Clinton having the presidential stain on Monica Lewinsky's dress. Essentially, he ejaculated on her dress. That's what it boils down to. Let's be honest. Let's just tell it what it is. Michael Wolff is saying that Donald Trump cheated on somebody. Now, Donald Trump has probably had a lot of affairs. So, that doesn't blow my mind. The mind-blowing part of this is, I had evidence that Donald Trump cheated or is in the process of cheating right now, cheating at this very moment in the White House. I just didn't have the blue dress that I could parade about. Let's let him keep going with this.
It is.
Oh.
And you just have to read between the lines.
What lines? Tell us the lines. You say it's in the book.
It's toward the end of the book.
Okay, well, it's in the book, then we go.
You know, you just have to. You'll know it.
I'll know it.
Now that I've told you, when you hit that paragraph, you're going to say bingo.
All right. He's just said that Donald Trump is having an affair in the White House, that he believes Donald Trump is having a sexual relationship with somebody else other than his wife. The person who he was talking about was Nikki Haley. Nikki Haley is the United States United Nations ambassador. She's the one who's screaming at the top of her lungs about America and all this other stuff in the United Nations, looking like a fucking maniac. Now, he's trying to say that that maniac in the United Nations is a person that Donald Trump is having an affair with. That's a big fucking deal. You've accused a woman out of the blue, just randomly, of having an affair with Donald Trump. Yeah, it's gross in the first place that you're saying that he's having an affair with Donald Trump. You've put this mental image in my head of Donald Trump having some kind of sexual relations with grosses me out. I'm trying to hold my food down. But understand how fair this is to Nikki Haley. I mean, ultimately, you're saying that this woman is sleeping with the President of the United States. But what do you have to show that this woman is actually sleeping with the President of the United States? This seems a little gross. This seems a little gross. It's unfair to Donald Trump, but it's also unfair to her. Now, from the context of women getting to where they need to get to on their own steam and not necessarily getting there on their backs, you can understand that this is a little problematic. This is problematic. With the Me Too campaign going on, and even if the Me Too campaign wasn't going on, saying that a woman is hooking up with somebody, it's almost like a high school thing. Like, Susie slept with Bob. Oh, Susie is a slut. Like, what? What are you using for this? Now, we've already established that there are elements of the book that is wrong. What are you using to establish that Nikki Haley is having sexual relationship with Donald Trump? That's what it boils down to. Now, he has explained himself on Morning Joe. He runs into a buzzsaw named, what's her name? What's her name? The one. Her dad is this, oh man, you'll see her. I can't think of her name. For whatever reason, her name has completely escaped me. But it's the woman on Morning Joe. I swear that, God damn it. You're about to see her. I can't think of her name. She's one of the hosts on Morning Joe. Her name just escapes me. I've watched Morning Joe before. Her dad is into national security. You'll see her. I can't think of her name. But nonetheless, on a panel on Morning Joe, he runs into a buzzsaw and needs to explain himself into why did you throw what's her name under the bus in this way? Why did you say that you're having an affair? And can you prove that? Can you, if you've made that allegation, if you put that insinuation out there, can you demonstrate that particular allegation that's showing or saying that she has an affair? That just seems an explosive thing to insinuate if you don't have the evidence to actually back that up. And they were pissed off about this. Explain yourself, sir. Explain yourself to two angry women about this particular allegation.
Susan.
You made some news this weekend talking about things you didn't know firsthand, saying you believed it was true, but you had no proof that the president had an affair with someone in his administration.
Yes.
It's pretty much what you said. Then you kind of led and indicated if you follow the breadcrumbs, you can figure out who it was. After a lot of rumors came out, it was speculation that you meant Nikki Haley, and you said she's embraced it. Don't you find that absolutely irresponsible at this point in time where we are as a society, when you're talking about a woman who's a high-profile woman in the Trump administration,
let me
to go after her without any evidence, without any facts? It just seems that it is so irresponsible.
Well, first thing, I didn't go after her, and secondly, what I meant was I found it puzzling that she would deny something she was not accused of.
Wait a minute. Can I just step?
Mika Brzezinski. It's one of those things where it's like it's there on the tip of your tongue. And I kept thinking no Miki or no Mika. As a Mika, I know this is conflating the two. My brain was screwing those up. Mika Brzezinski. Her dad is Brzezinski. He said, I thought it was weird that she's denying something that was never alleged. You were on Bill Maher insinuating that the woman was having sexual relations with Donald Trump, a married man, that she was having sexual relations with Donald Trump. That was your insinuation. Now, do you believe that an insinuation is not the same thing as saying that somebody did something? Yes, you can make the technical argument that I never said that you were having sex with Donald Trump. I just insinuated it. I don't understand why you're denying something that was just insinuated. I didn't come out and say it. That's a fucking ridiculous argument. I mean, just own it. You were on national TV. Own it. You were on Bill Maher's show saying that the woman had sex with Trump. Own it. You look insane denying that. You look insane denying that. You look insane trying to say that this woman is somehow crazy for denying an allegation that you made because you didn't outright say it. You just insinuated it. Here's a newsflash. An insinuation is actually saying it. They're the same thing. They're the same thing. Let them keep going, because that's a fucking ridiculous answer.
And here, let's put this next question. The entire credibility of your book, which was written really quickly.
Excuse me.
Your book.
Yes.
Let's put it on this next question. Do you regret inferring anything about Nikki Haley?
I didn't infer anything about Nikki Haley. What I inferred was that the president is that many of the people around the president believe he is still involved with various women.
No, but you said she spent a lot of time in private time with.
That's exactly what people report. And specifically, that was about her bid to become the Secretary of State. So everywhere in the White House, they were suddenly in quite a panic that this was actually happening,
Michael,
which is why.
That's even worse. That's even worse. Like, oh man, you're digging a fucking ditch. That's even worse. She said, let's put this on the credibility of the book. Are you ashamed? Do you regret saying that this woman was having an affair with Donald Trump with no information, with no evidence at all to back this up? You just pulled it out of your ass and put it on display. Understanding that the people who hated Donald Trump, that the people who dislike the Republican Party, would rightfully dislike the Republican Party, mind you, rightfully dislike Donald Trump, will bite onto it. They would cling to it like a star. They would say, okay, look, this guy said it, so let's just fucking run with it. We don't need to interrogate it. We don't need to investigate it. He said it. It's enough. It's written in a book, so it has to be to some degree true. And if it's true or not, doesn't matter. We don't like Donald Trump, so fuck it. Let's run with it. Do you feel bad? Are you ashamed at putting something out there with no evidence associated with it? And his answer to this is, well, look, this is what people were talking about. They thought she wanted to be Secretary of State, and they thought she was having sex with Donald Trump. I didn't say it. I didn't say that. It's just what other people were saying. He understands that it's one thing to say that Nikki Haley was in a sexual relationship with Donald Trump just because she was in a sexual relationship with Donald Trump. Look, I don't think sex is bad, so I don't care about that too much. It's another thing to take that extra step and say, well, they thought she was trying to become Secretary of State. Whoa, whoa. You've just said within the context of sexual relationship that Nikki Haley was trying to be Secretary of State. Are you saying that Nikki Haley was fucking Donald Trump to be Secretary of State? Are you saying that because they were having a sexual relationship that she thought that her bid for Secretary of State would be that much more so? You've associated a woman having sex with Donald Trump to get some level of a political gain. You understand how gross that is. You have no evidence for this. Do you understand how gross and problematic this is? So let it keep going. I'll let them handle it. Yes, this is my Me Too camp. This is one of those Me Too camps where I actually think has validity to it. This guy literally is saying that a woman was sleeping with the president and thought one of two things. Either she was doing so to get Secretary of State, or people around her, because it's not me saying it, thought that she might have had a stronger bid for Secretary of State because she was sleeping with the president. The entirety of this is put within the context of this woman having sex for some kind of political ends. That's gross. That's very gross. Particularly to throw that out there. It's like people can make shit up with the best of them. Somebody make shit up about Michael Wolff. Let's keep going. Let's Mika finish. I'm going to leave this to Mika.
In June, key question that that obviously the Mueller people are gonna ask
About a woman who's a high.
Wait a minute. Can I just step in here? Let's put this next question. The entire credibility of your book, which was written really quickly.
Excuse me.
Your book.
Yes.
Let's put it on this next question. Do you regret inferring anything about Nikki Haley?
I didn't infer anything about Nikki Haley. What I inferred was that the president is that many of the people around the president believe he is still involved with various women.
No, but you said she spent a lot of time in private time with.
I mean, that's exactly what people report. And now, and specifically, that was about her bid to become the Secretary of State. So everywhere in the White House, they were suddenly in quite a panic that this was actually happening,
Michael,
which is why they pushed Pompeo out.
She has embraced it. I'm going to go as far as to say that you might be having a fun time playing a little game, dancing around this, but you're slurring a woman. It's disgraceful.
It's Mika, again, she has been accused of nothing. She has decided to deny what she has not been accused of.
Right.
Certainly, I didn't accuse her of this.
Wait, are you suggesting that? Are you suggesting the language is not ambiguous in any way in the things that you've said and the way you've stated it?
Are you kidding? You're on the set of Morning Joe. We don't BS here.
Well, read me the language.
Are you kidding me? I'm not reading you anything.
Play the Bill Maher.
If you don't get it, if you don't get what we're talking about, I'm sorry. This is awkward. You're here on the set with us, but we're done. Michael Wolff, thank you. We're going to go to break now. Bye, everyone. We'll be right back.
Wow. Mika handling business. This is awkward. This is awkward. This is awkward. You're on the set of the Morning Show. We don't BS here. Yeah, you do BS there, but whatever. We don't BS here. Read me the language. Read me the language. Tap. Just dancing all around. Read me the language. Fuck it, I'll show you the clip. He's like, and the guys were like, wait. Are you denying this? Are you really denying this? I mean, these women are pissed. We don't know if we can hold them back. Are you really denying this? Read me the language. Read me the language. You either own it or you apologize for it. There's no middle ground on that. You're slurring a woman, and not just slurring, you made it worse. And yeah, I think Donald Trump is gross. So I think saying Donald Trump, she's having sex with Donald Trump is gross. I think it takes up another level of grossness to jump the shark to say we're talking about the sex in the context of political gains. Oh, that's gross. And just in case you need to hear the language again, just in case Michael Wolff needed to hear the language again, let's play the Bill Maher clip just so you can hear this.
And I know you've been out talking about it all. I want you to tell me something that the other people have not noticed in this book. Is there something that you think, boy, why don't they ask me about this that I put in there that they're not talking about?
There is, but I can't tell you what it is. So
well,
there is
fuck you, Mike. Teasing us like that.
There is something in the book that I was absolutely sure of, but it was so incendiary that I just didn't have the ultimate proof.
God, considering what he's done, what is it, a woman thing?
Well, I didn't have the blue dress.
No, is it about a woman?
It is.
Oh, it is?
It is.
Oh, it's somebody he's fucking now.
It is.
Oh.
And it's...
Who is he
You
fucking?
just have to read between the lines.
What lines? Tell us the lines. You say it's in the book.
It's toward the end of the book.
Okay, well, it's in the book, then we go...
You know, you just have to... You'll know it.
I'll know it.
Now that I've told you, when you hit that paragraph, you're going to say bingo.
Okay.
Now, That's not ambiguous language. I was absolutely sure of it. I didn't have the blue dress. Blue dress indicating Bill Clinton and having sex with Monica Lewinsky. Now, later on, you find, even in that context, even in the context to which he was talking to her about it, they were talking about Nikki Haley. And I'm saying that to say, in the conversation on Morning Joe, it's clear what they're talking about. Meaning, do you feel bad for implicating Nikki Haley in this conversation of, I was absolutely sure of it, I didn't have the semen stain on the dress to indicate it happened. It was explosive. I didn't have the blue dress. And it's understood later on that he's talking about Nikki Haley. And yet, he says, well, I didn't really say. I mean, I never really said it. I never really said it. And look, I'm just saying the stuff that people were telling me about her, there was just stuff that people were telling me about her. I never said anything. It was everybody else. They thought she was trying to get ahead on Secretary of State. You're smearing a woman for your book, for your capitalistic pursuits. Either your political or capitalistic pursuits. You're smearing a woman saying she's having sex with Donald Trump in some context of state, you know, getting the Secretary of State. Yeah, dude, you're gross. You're gross. I saw this. I thought it was fucking hilarious that he got kicked off the set. I thought it was hilarious. So I'm going to do the Cenk Uygur Cowl, I guess you can call it debate, the Russian medley thing. I have not watched it yet. I'm going to watch it at the same time as I review it, so this should be interesting. But I wanted to show this because this was fucking awesome. You can read Michael Wolff's book and you can get this sense of, okay, yeah, this guy who he's describing looks like Donald Trump. And yeah, there are, you know, details, facts, and figures that may be off. But the question becomes, okay, what's the percentage of the book that's accurate? What's the percentage of the book that's wrong? And if there's a lagging percentage of the book that's wrong, does it still give you an image of Donald Trump? I gotta be honest, from what I've read of the book, that looks like the guy who's running for office. And I would imagine that those people in Washington understand the quantity to which they're dealing with when they're dealing with him. So it doesn't shock me that some of the stuff they would be saying behind the scenes is not necessarily flattering of Donald Trump. It doesn't shock me in the least. It was sleazy in the way he was getting that information. It was gross in the way that he was getting that information. And some of the things that he said, particularly in the context of the Nikki Haley thing, was gross. The way that he insinuated, but not necessarily want to own up to the fact that he's insinuating that the woman is having sex with Donald Trump. But that being said, you make your own judgments about Michael Wolff, make your own judgments about his book. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. I love the fact that he got his ass handed to him on this particular point, though. I definitely love that point. All right, guys, I'm going to end it. He's creepy. They're saying he's creepy. It's funny. All right, guys. If you enjoy the content, feel free to share, like, subscribe, and of course, you can always support through Patreon. Thanks, guys.